Hi guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. So let's get back on the mini lathe. What I'm going to do in this episode, well, to start off with, is fit this block underneath the headstock. Now I've said previously, and you've seen, I've got 4 bolts holding the headstock down now onto the bed, but its support under the bed is what we're going to be doing in the area where the motor sits in the original configuration on the mini lathe. And yeah, I think it's an inherent weak spot in the casting and an inherent lack of support in an area under the head, which again, good support is going to make it stiffer, make it a better machine. So let's get on and do that. So obviously I've got to clean down the bed of my mill. It's stinking dirty from various different projects. Strip the mini lathe down back to its component parts again, back to a bare bed, and get and machine some flats and then make a block up all the rest. But I'm sure there'll be bits and bobs in this video that I haven't mentioned in the intro, but anyway, let's get to it. So I'm just cleaning up this space. I've got about 1 inch deep from the, where it intersects with the casting. And I'm just going to clean up there. And then in the same setup, I'll swap to this front face, which is more difficult for me to show you. And do exactly the same there, clean up this space. And I'll have 2 parallel faces then. I'm just going to run spring passes on both of them. I think I need perhaps another 0.1 off that face to finish it. So I'll run a couple of spring passes just to get a nice clean surface, and they will be parallel and square to each other. And then I can fit a block in there, but we'll have to make the block. So another 0.1 cut. Reckon that'll do it. So I'll run that back across and then probably let it go back the other way with the same cut on. And that'll give me a nice clean up place there. So last cut on this side. Can't really get in there with the camera, but it is cleaned up. I can get my head round and have a look, and I have, and it's good. I've run the last pass back and forth a couple of times. And that's it. While I got the bed in this orientation, I thought, well, I just as well pick up the centre of that hole. That's roughly where I want the scale to be. And I can put the drill and tapped hole in for this end. Obviously I can adjust it afterwards, it is a slot. So that's the position. I'll put the scale away. I'll do the other end when I get it set up in a different way. I can't quite reach the other end. But I can have the tapped hole in here. So M5 I think will be good to go. I'm worried here that I'm going to be sort of halfway out the wall. I don't know. There's a sort of 8mm wide casting wall under there. I'm going to have to be very gentle. I'm going to put a 4.2 drill up. So yeah, M5. Where's my 4.2? Oh dear me. Not in the rack. I didn't put it away last time I used this. Naughty. Okay. That's a 4.2. I guess the other one must be a 4 then that I've got out. What is it? 4.1. Have I got them both out of the drill set? I think I've got a 4. That is a 4.2. Okay. Oh, as you can hear, I'm dropping drill bits all over the place. That's the 4.3. Okay, looking at my drill index, I had a 4.2 and a 4.3 out. Okay, so I'm hoping it might be running a little fast. It's running about 1,000 RPM. Let's just slow it down a bit. Oh, it didn't break out the casting, that's good news. It's just, I want to blow that away. Where are we? It's about 20mm deep, that'll be enough. I can always cut off an M5 bolt for that. So yeah, that's the hole for that end done. Worth doing while I was there. I didn't have to move it around, I was already set up. I mean, I probably could have done it with a cordless drill in my hand, but yeah, it's always, because that wall thickness was so dubious as to whether I was going to break through, I didn't want to do it by hand. So that's one hole for one end of the DRO, and I'll match something up on the other end. Looking at it, I think the DRO scale I've got is going to be way too long. But yeah, at least I won't run out of travel on it, but I may cut that down. So just a little play with this. With it located in there, I reckon I've got to shorten it back to about there. So just undo the little screws that hold this end clamp on. Let me just, I've undone those. And it's only a piece of aluminium with basically a tape in it. So I'm going to get a junior hacksaw and cut it off there, deburr it, put that back on, and then drill a hole to suit somewhere around there. But I have already slid the bed, this bed, along the bed of the mill, so I can access it to drill the hole. So holding it by the scrap part, just nice and slow with a junior hacksaw. I've kept it flat and gone through the reader bit, so I don't burr the end over. And I'm just going to, here we are, we're through the tape part now. I think patience is the thing here, just take it gently. We'll make sure we keep it clean, we'll deburr the end. Put the little bracket back on, and then we'll drill the second hole. I'll line it up parallel to the bed, basically with a rule. It is adjustable, it's 3 or 4mm of adjustable, so rule size for the hole, and we'll pop the little M5 hole in the same place, in the middle of the slot, give me a bit of adjustment. So I've lined the hole up here, measured in with the rules, about 37mm, set that to 37, put a little dot there, so that little dot is where I need to drill and tap in my next M5 hole. I placed that DRO rail on there when I'd finished, and I thought, oh my goodness, have I made a monumental one. But as it happens, just probably 2mm of clearance. And I did have to push it probably 2mm down. I can get it. It's fine. So, having thought about this a bit more, I'm thinking that block needs to go somewhere in there. Now, the marks or the holes are on the other side. So I'm wondering if I can't flick that rail upside down in the holders and put it upside down, and then make some sort of bracket off these tapped holes straight onto this keep plate. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm thinking. So I'm just going to have a play with this, and I'll bring you back. So to a certain degree that's going to work. However, this side is fatter than the back side. We won't talk about fat back sides. So yeah, as you can see, it doesn't sit flat, but it does need to be spaced up to align with this space so that I've got a clean straight face just to put a couple of brackets on. So I'm not going to do it at this stage, but going forward, spacer under each end, nice piece of flat aluminium that can sandwich between the two. Space it up till that's flush, do a bit of measuring when this is in place on the carriage, see what the step is, you know, what the spacers need to be, and then it's just going to be a straight bracket and a couple of tapped holes in here. So yeah, I mean that's working out quite nicely actually. Yeah, so I'm going to put this back in its box for a later day when we get to the final assembly and the messing about stage. We got the tapped holes in ready. It's going to need a couple of tapped holes in here and a couple of braces across onto the back plate of this, and I think that's going to work quite nicely. Yeah, so I've got a piece of plate. I've machined this side, put my stop against it, and I've measured up the gap it's got to go into, and this should leave me pretty much about 0.1 up on size. So I'm going to pop it out at this stage and just check it, because if my measurement is out at all, it's a case of start all over again. But I think I'm 0.1 up. Yeah. So if this fits in, I haven't measured it right, and if it doesn't fit in, there's a good chance that I have. Let's just deburr that. 2 seconds, I've got a file here somewhere. There we are. You know, it's there, all bar and nothingness. I mean, I can get it to just about start, and nothingness is a very small thing. Not a technical term, and nothingness. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw file both sides just to make sure, take the machining marks out, maybe on one side, and we'll try it again. So the fit I'm looking for is the lightest of tap fits. So I can get it started. I've got to get it in the right place. Where are we? Just got to start it square as well. Move it along a bit. I mean, it sits there. I can move it, but that's pretty much, you know, that sort of transition fit. Just squaring it up what I can see there. Okay, so I think I've got it size wise. I need to bolt it in position now. So I think what I'll do is, that's probably about the ideal height there. In fact, I think I could go down another mil or so. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Let's just square it up again. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to measure that step, and then whatever that is, add on half the material, and that's the distance in. I'm going to put the top 2 holes in. I'll do the same on the bottom here. I might actually, yeah, I'll find a way to measure off here. I'll pick a point or file this off maybe, and pick a point, measure the step, and then do the same on the bottom face. So I'm going to have 2 bolts in the bottom and 2 bolts in the top, and we're going to lock all that into position, and that should stiffen it all up. One thing I just need to check, if I get one of the bolts, where are we? Here we are. Just make sure that bolt doesn't foul. No, it's fine. And that one's fine. That doesn't foul either. Good, good. So, yeah, I can pull it out. So, yeah, I mean, it's the right size. So I've just put 3 holes in here. Clearance on M4 and countersunk for M4 cap heads. I was going to put 2 M5s in. Well, I looked at M6s first of all, but the thickness of this wall here wouldn't leave enough meat when I socketed them in, and then I thought about countersink screws, you know, with the chamfer on the underside. But yeah, in the end, I decided I'll change over, put 3 of them in, and make them M4. You know, there'd be more than enough weight on the hole down there. You know, there's no load on this part, but it will be helping to damp. So I'm sure with 3 M4s there'll be enough clamping force, you know, to overcome any vibration, and obviously the stiffness is going to help. So not only is the plate holding it up, but the bolts will be holding it down, so this area of the casting can't flex at all or vibrate. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's better than not having a plate in at all, I'm sure. So that's the way I'm going with that. So 3 centre drill holes, same centres, smack in the middle of this plate. Okay, and swap over to a tapping drill for M4. Drill the holes out, tap them. It's just drilling the tap in, guys. And then I'm going to fit this up back onto the bed, and the ones on the other side I'm going to do them in situ and then take it apart afterwards, so that I've spotted through. So if there's any error, I've got it. So 3rd hole, just drilling it out. 3.3 drill. Bolts are going in about 10 mil, so I'll just drill it, make sure. 15, 16 mil deep. Just looking at the reading on the quill, which I set to 0 on the first one. So yeah, that's 3 with a tapping drill in. I'm going to hand tap these. I'll get the vacuum out. In fact, I'll do that on camera now. Try not to bang the tripod. So I'll just bring the job out from under the cutter and tap these 3 holes. So last hole, just hand tapping, being quite careful, small tap wrench, it's an M4. I'm fairly confident on M5s, and then start to get a lot more careful when I go below M5. But this M4, yeah, I mean, it's okay. Go in at a fair depth because it's a first tap, a taper tap then. So as long as I go in deep enough with a taper tap, should have no problem with the bolts bottoming out. As I say, they're only in the part maybe 8 mil, and I've drilled these holes 16 mil deep. So if I get the taper tap, that's it, that's in the bottom. If I get the taper tap all the way down, we should be fine with that. Should have plenty of parallel thread in there. Just run an oil stone over the top of there, make sure we haven't raised any burrs. Happy days. So I got it the other way up now. So 4.2 drill, I am putting M5 in the bottom, I got a lot more meat here. So 2 M5 bolts in the bottom here. So this is a tapping drill. Now I'm going to put this right down through. And I'm going from the surface here 32 mil deep. I know my bolts M5 are 25 mil long. So just cut through the cast into the steel. And drill on down till I get to 32 mil overall depth. And that should be the tapping drill holes done in the block. Then I can just pull the block out. I know which way round, which way up it goes, I've marked it. I did centre drill one of the centre ones and then realised that it was thicker, but that's okay. So I was planning on 3 bolts in here. That's 30 mil deep. Couple more mil. I mean, you know, 25 mil wouldn't be deep enough. In fact, thinking on it, I got a 5 mil head, that's 30 that the bolt is going to go. So if I went 35 deep, I wouldn't have to cut my bolts. I probably will have to put a bottom in tap in. Let's go 36 as we hear. 36. Let's go back to the first one. Figure a 20 on my DRO. Yeah, go 36 deep. Doesn't do any harm. 33, 34. Just going very gently and quite deep. There we go, 36. So take this out now, and then clearance hole and countersinks. Get my countersinking bit out for M5. I can probably undo this from the underneath, I would have thought, without removing the setup. Let's have a look. The setup's quite simple. In the vise, either end of the bed, sat on some 1, 2, 3 blocks, and as you can see, I've had to use directing the collet with a drill bit. Couldn't use the chuck because I've run out of head height. So with a centre drilled hole in there, a little bit of fluid, 6.8 drill. Could go a little faster, that drill. A bit more fluid in there. I haven't locked my head on the mill. I can see the whole column shaking, or the whole head stop shaking. That's better. Okay, we're through. Well, that's the bridge in there, or the support. 3 bolts down in through the top, tapped hole there, ready for the hold on, ready for the jacking bolt for the motor tensioner. Let me just break it on its side. Let me check you can see that. Is that going to stay there? Yes, I think it is. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. And the 2 bolts in the bottom. I was going to put 3 in. I had to offset this one so it wasn't half and half. I was going to put 3 in, but I managed to go up to M5, so I think 2 will more than suffice. So yeah, I mean, it's all locked in place. I did basically put a stone over top and bottom just to flatten them off, and a bit more on the frame just so that it worked its way in there rather than having that light tapping that you saw me do earlier on. Just took some of the high points off until it sort of slid around a bit better. Let me just open that vise. Can't get it to sit. What am I on? I'm on top of the Allen key. There we go. That's sat on the bed. So, happy days. Yeah, there was a bit more work than I thought it was going to be, but it's all done now, and as a bonus I've got my tapped holes in for the DRO scale as well. So, moving on. Yeah, one thing I have thought of is that the 2 supports, maybe I should get it into picture. Yeah, let me bring it into picture. Okay, so the 2 supports for the lead screw, one this end and his brother up this end, I've got no means of lubrication in them. So what I'm thinking to do is, let me just pop that off, is to put a oil port of some description in the top here, whether that be a hole with a countersink in it, but that's likely to get filled with swarf. I may put like an M4 drill and tapped hole in here and then make a little oil cup to go in here with a lid and do the same the other end. Yeah, that's certainly something I could do, just so that it's got, you know, maybe a 64th hole or something like that in the bottom, but just so that it's got a bit of lube going forward, because this lead screw is going to be running, you know, when the feed motor's on, not just when the head's running. It could be running for quite some length of time, and even though these are cast, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be better with a bit of lube. Well, I think that's about it for this one, guys. Yeah, another little step closer to the completion. We're getting a lot more of the metal work done. There's going to be quite a big chunk of work to do when I get to the electrical side of it, but yeah, it's coming along. So moving on the next one, we'll probably look at doing these lubricators for the lead screw and the oil cups, perhaps. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.